In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I say this every week. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Office hours with Dr. A is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and I will endure the consequences. Again, rest assured, I will not try to put my brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort, it requires actual work.
You've reached the office of Dr. Randy Arrington. Please have a seat, and the doctor will be with you in just a moment. Welcome to our special crossover episode. This is Lou from Whom the Belle Tolls, joining Dr. Randy Arrington.
I'm here, Wench, and thank you for asking me on tonight to talk about this groundbreaking news that we're going to talk about.
We actually are going to break some news. You know, when I started asking the questions and I started talking to the Ghost Sect media guy about their war on ISIS and a couple of one issue that really concerned me about some of the things that were going on and there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on with this online fight against ISIS. But one thing came up that concerned me a little bit, and I started asking questions about it. Some of the answers that I got were what you and I expected. We're going to get into the story of what the different groups are, explain to our listeners a little bit about what's going on with the online fight on ISIS and the different anonymous groups that are taking place. And really, the one group that's been leading this fight, really since the beginning, in my mind, I admit to being a fangirl, a Ghost Sect fangirl. So, but we did try to give equal time to both groups, but we'll get into that a little bit. First, you know, I want to say that there is a lot to this story, and I sent a lot of it to you, and it's really pretty interesting. But I don't know. Do you want to tell the people how you're doing tonight before we get into that? How's the romper room?
It's very interesting for me to read this stuff you sent me to do the research on. I'm used to, as a naval aviator, flying tactical jets off carriers. I'm used to real physical combat with weapons that kill, and this cyber warfare that the Anons and Ghost Sec are engaging in is what I call soft kill, and they've been doing a damn good job for a while now. I guess they started like in April, but things are starting to metastasize a little bit from what I read in the research I did, and it's all because of probably two things: government involvement, which I'm always leery of, and the lure and the corrupting power of money. I'm sure that's going to be something. And what's ironic for me is every time I talk to you, or we do a show, or do an article, I get engulfed in cyber warfare. These people, these Twitter trolls that you guys call them, come out of the woodwork and attack me. And that's why I need to hook up with my buddy Slickery Trigger there and get me a good undercover, something for my weapon so I can carry these things concealed, undercover holster. I'll have to talk to him offline.
And some people will tell me, and I have been told, that I'm crazy for being such a supporter of GhostSec and being that GhostSec fangirl. You know, I'm not the only one, but I have that one thing, you know, me supporting them and retweeting them and you know, really showing support for them has brought more ISIS trolls to my timeline than I've ever seen. And, you know, my favorite thing to do when the ISIS trolls start hitting my timeline is I start tweeting out the U.S. military power. So, you know, they'll get a couple of Marine videos and they'll get, you know, upside down fully loaded Hornets with you know, hundreds of ordnances on the bottom of them that you can see clearly. It's like, do you want this bomb dropped on you? Because it's just kind of my way to tell them to leave me alone, and it works. They'll bother me. I put a few Hornets out there, or you know, some a couple of aircraft carriers, and they'll leave me alone. They just don't want to see it. So it's
our
really
ordnance
interesting.
guys used to write messages on the live bombs that we would load on our jets, and you know, to the people that were intended to straighten out. But I am assuming tonight, since there's probably a lot of people that don't even know this exists, that you're going to maybe tell the story of this for the listeners. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start with the fact that we all know, because we've heard the government tell us over and over again, that there's all this online recruiting that's being done, and they're recruiting online. They're recruiting Americans online. They're radicalizing people online, which is the biggest thing, is that they've radicalized, and we've got a really great answer. One of our answers that we got from Tor Reaper, who is the administrator for GhostSec, it was really, he does a really good job of explaining why we can't allow that to happen. We'll get into that story a little bit. So what is going on now is GhostSec has been around for years. They went through some changes, and the best way, and I'll just go ahead and say that the group split, and we asked both of the new groups that were established to answer our questions, and the same questions were sent to both groups. And I know that quite a bit of media has done the same thing and gotten answers from both groups, but for some reason I could not get an answer from GhostSec group. So let me just read the story. This is from Tor Reaper, and he is what our friend he called Ghost. He goes by Commander Xavier, but he's probably the one that we've known about the longest, and we're big fans of his, and he listens into some of our radio shows. Every now and then you'll catch him in one of our chat rooms, but he's, you know, these are good guys that we're talking about. They're not bad guys. They're not going to hack your bank account. That's not what they're focused on. They do several things. Animal abuse sites that are on the dark net, they take down. Child pornography sites that are on the dark net, they take down. And ISIS sites on the dark net, they take down. These are good guys. These are not bad guys.
Do people know what the dark net is? Because I didn't until I started this research this week.
Oh, okay. So the dark net is a hidden part of the internet that you have to know how to get to, and you have to have some special tools to get to. You have to be pretty savvy to get to, but people who like child pornography and people who are following ISIS are able to get to those sites and be radicalized or take part in whatever criminal activity they're taking part of. So the darknet is it's called the darknet for a reason, or for two reasons really. It's dark because it's nasty and bad things go on back there, but it's also dark because it's hidden. So it's a hidden part of the internet is the really best way to say it.
Okay, like a sub-internet, below the normal internet.
Yeah, it is. It's an internet submarine below the surface of the internet, and it's hidden below the surface of the internet. People that are looking to do bad things know how to get there and set things up. And luckily, these good guys also know their way around the dark net and how to take things down. So this is the story of GhostSec and GhostSec Group as written by Tor Reaper, and I'm going to read it. And I don't normally read things on air, but these guys are anonymous, so they've given me things to read, and I'm going to read them. This is a great story. Once upon a time, there were a bunch of people with varying skills that wanted to destroy the online presence of ISIS. Yay, we can all support that. Those people came together in a group called GhostSec, or Ghost Security, in order to combine the various skills and cause more damage to ISIS. Over the course of time, that group changed. People left, people joined, but the mission stayed largely the same. The group did some good in the world, took down some ISIS sites, more than 100, and had a bunch of Twitter accounts banned, more than 15,000. The intel folks in the group even discovered attacks in Texas, New York, and Libya before they happened, in time to let authorities know. So these guys don't just take down sites, they discover intel and let the authorities know that something's going to happen. Unfortunately, however, this led various parts of the government to contact the group asking his words, to leech off our intel. This was no problem. The group was happy to share in the interest of keeping folks safe. But here our story turns nasty. The group had the idea to request funding for the intel, and the government agreed, via a contractor, of course. The intel then became a commodity. That had to be protected, so it stopped getting shared with the group's followers. Now, those are all the other members of Anonymous who helped take down these sites once the intel is gathered.
I gotcha.
Right. Divides started to appear in the group, and many of the original members left. New recruitment focused on intel folks instead of technical capability. So the new recruitment that they were doing was, and this is my explanation, was intelligence gathering people and not people with the technical skills to actually take down the sites. Okay? Intel is what earned them the money. And I changed bucks to money. Sorry, Tor. Pretty soon, all but 2 of the original members had left, taking with them the technical skills, leaving behind guys who wanted to work as intel gathering engines for the government. However, the folks left behind decided that as they did not control ghostsec.org website domain, and since the government paymaster did not like their historic link to Anonymous, it was better to form a new group, and they called the group GhostSec Group. And then he adds, because he's kind of a funny guy, he adds, just think of the creative process that went into creating that name. Mind blown. Some of the old, yeah, that was pretty funny. Some of the old members who left GhostSec, upon hearing the news that the others were leaving, decided to come back and reform the original GhostSec and fulfill the original goals of the group for no money. So now we have GhostSec Group, the intel organization with government ties, and GhostSec, the original Ghost Security that everyone followed, still executing on its original mission.
I gotcha.
So to recap, we now have 2 groups. We have one group called GhostSec Group that works with the government and is mostly an intelligence gathering engine and feeds that to the government through a government contractor. The contractor is called Kronos. And we have GhostSec, still volunteers, still associated with Anonymous, still a bunch of great guys that do good things, not bad things, and probably some of the most skilled anti-cyber terrorists in the world. GhostSec has within it, as the Epoch article that I sent you said,
yes,
the only 2 known people that can actually hack and take down a site behind the Tor network. And the Tor network is a network that was created on the dark net to protect sites from attack. 2 of the guys in GhostSec are the only people known that can get into that Tor network and actually take a site down.
Was Tor Reaper? I think the other one was Commander Xavier.
Yes, that's the one that we affectionately call Ghost.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm curious that you say this. I'm wondering if these guys in GhostSec were listening, watching, and had any inkling of what Saeed Farouk and his lovely wife were about to do there in San Bernardino. If they had any inkling at all about that, I bet you they did.
Well, they may have. They didn't put it out publicly. Sometimes when they feel like they need to, or other anonymous notice something they want to let GhostSec know, they'll put it out publicly. Other times they'll do things behind the scenes. Right. So they haven't said that I haven't seen them say that. I actually checked their timelines today, but they didn't say it if they did. The way they watch ISIS sites, and internet, and the things that they've been doing to ISIS, I don't know that, they're not. And some of the answers that we've got from Tor, we'll get into that a little bit, about how many, he thinks are out there, and the Epoch article we'll go through a little bit. He also explains some things that he thinks that are out there that they haven't necessarily found or identified, but, they're still knee-deep in the fight, and these guys are amazing. And I don't know about anybody else, but I feel just a little bit safer knowing that they're out there taking it down. And I think by the time we work through all of his Q&A that I did with him, that everybody else will too.
I'm wondering if part of their modus operandi when they're doing this cyber surveillance, like Op ISIS that you mentioned, involves a Boolean word search in virtual reality, looking for certain words, which the NSA does that as well. You and I make a phone call together. They're looking for certain words, certain phrases that will clue them in, and then they'll pay more attention. I wonder if that's part of it. I don't know. That's a little bit deeper than, I get into my technology. I know about weapons computers, but not computers.
I'm sure that there's, and some of the things that I've heard them mention that I won't even mention on the air because they're so technical, and I only know because my husband's in IT and I've done enough digital work to just enough to know that they're talking technical talk. But some of the conversations that I've seen, because I follow these guys, are there are some probably search capabilities that they do to track down and look for those things, but when we get into the Q&A and some of the article, when they take one down and ISIS will bring it back up, and they'll take another one down and ISIS will bring it back up. And the ones that they're focused on are the ones I believe that have been there longer, that people know about, that are people are really accessing. So it may be a matter of, the traffic that's going there. Maybe that's a good follow-up question for a tour that we'll ask him. I think that would be great to. Okay. But asking them to reveal too many of their methods is something that I wouldn't do because yeah. So, but he's great. He'll tell you if he's not going to reveal a message. And he did knock down one of my conspiracy theories. So he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's a really smart guy. They're all really smart guys, and they get it. But I found it really interesting that some things came about this week at the same time that the NSA metadata program was expiring. Well, he knocked down that conspiracy theory. He didn't think that was, and I'll get into his answer, when we go through the Q&A. Because we are celebrating the end to that program, we have a special reading from the Book of Beaker this evening, and it's a brief reading. But we can't do a show without a reading from the Book of Beaker. So we're going to do...
I understand that, yes.
Right, exactly. So
he was in the romper room a minute ago, and he's disappeared. Maybe he chickened out.
No, he's probably...
The Belle Tolls for him.
He's taking care of his kids. Hopefully he's listening right now so he can hear his reading.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
A reading from the Book of Beaker, the Overlord's Prayer. Big brother, who art in cyberspace, incessant be thy pain. Thy fearsome thumb to press on some far more than it does on others. We relinquish this day our metadata, and we endure your constant trespasses, as we misgive thou for thine actions incense us. And leave us not our liberty castrated, nor on our ass go medieval. For thine is the Fourth Amendment to break forever and ever. Amen. This has been a reading from the Book of Beaker.
Well, that was just awesome. Thanks, Beaker. That was great, wasn't it, man? I can do a show. I hope I never have to do a show without a reading from the Book of Beaker. And the program expired. And isn't that a wonderful thing?
Exactly.
Yeah. So as we're getting into this ghost sect conversation and the conversation about them, their work online and how, what a great job they've done at bringing down ISIS sites. The problem that I have is, and we'll get into this in the Q&A as well, one of the problems that I have is that our government does not seem to want to keep us safe. And even the terrorist attack that just happened is not being called a terrorist attack. The president said, was it 3 o'clock today, 2 o'clock today, that he actually said it might be terrorism.
Yeah. Well, I respond to that on Twitter. Here's how you judge, and we mentioned this on Office Hours Dr. A. You have to look at the historical context, the political context. Anytime these knuckleheads inside the Beltway, those Beltway bandits, say anything, okay? And from the perspective of him being who I always tell you he is one of them. He doesn't want it to be associated with Islam in any way. So that's why, faced with overwhelming evidence that it is Islam, and we are at war against Islam. I'm sorry, people, I got to tell you that. Until we wipe them out, we're going to be at war with them forever. He's got to disavow that, and that's why he said it appears it could be terrorist-related, or it could be workplace violence. Make people say, well, this guy's, he's incompetent, he's full of crap, blah, blah, blah. It depends on the perspective from which you judge that statement. If you judge it from a capitalist, democratic, constitutional Republican, president, yeah, he is incompetent. If you judge it from him being an Islamo communist, have a drink, he's not. And he's doing exactly what he has to do, Takia, lying, and to keep the heat off of himself and keep the heat off of his brothers, the Muslim Brotherhood, and the rest of those knuckleheads. That's what he did. It is Islamic terrorism. The home that they lived in was basically an IED construction factory. Come on. How much more do you have to slap you in the face? We know what's going on. We know what's going on, Lou.
I know. I have no idea. I don't know what more he actually needs for it to admit that it's terrorism. Where the way that the whole thing played out, identity and the ethnicity and the motive of the people who carried out the crime was hidden for about 24 hours. It was insane to me. I will be... How many months do we have left? 13?
About 13, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be so glad when they're over. I don't know if Ghost Sect can hold it together between now and then. I'll be really glad because nobody else is doing anything to do it. Now, with that said, back to our topic, because we are going to break a little bit of news. Nobody's reported on this, and I've been watching to see if anybody did. And I'm really surprised that I'm going to be the first one to talk about this, because I've seen absolutely never. I know, really. I've never broken news in my life. Well, with the Red Cross, but I was on the other side of it. So, the day's active for their site. Their site is ghostsect.org. If you want to report an ISIS website or Twitter account, please go to ghostsect.org. It is at the top of their homepage. It is the easiest thing in the world to do, and you don't even have to put your name in. You can put anonymous. You can do it anonymously. Let the pros check it out. Don't go after it yourself. Yeah, the trolls come after me. I fight them. That's the way I work, and I'm going to keep doing that. But I don't go after them. I don't attack them unless they attack me first. I'd much rather these guys handle it because they're so good at it. In the 230 days that this site's been active for 230 days, they've had 1.8 million plus, almost 1.9 million visits.
Oh my.
31,000 total reports. 1,600 domains or websites reported, 15,000 Twitter IDs report, 15.2 thousand, and it says attacks on GhostSec, 202.
Wow.
So evidently their site has been attacked 202. And we know that, and you can watch their Twitter accounts and see that, the so-called ISIS hackers, which is, they're really kind of a joke, evidently, at least when you compare them to these guys, that they're attacking GhostSec at the same time, but they can't bring their site down. And they obviously GhostSec includes two of the smartest guys in the world, and we love you guys, and thanks so much for everything that you do, because we really, really, really appreciate it. And their site is just full of the different reporting data and the things that they've brought down. But we're going to get into because I want to do this before I get to break, so that when we can come out of break, we can cover what our topic really is, which is something that everybody needs to be careful of, because everybody wants to be involved in this site, and the government has done something to make it possible for everybody, and this government contractor has done something to make it possible for everybody to get involved, but at the same time it's a very dangerous way for an individual to get involved when it comes to, again, your Fourth Amendment rights and your right to not be tracked and your right to privacy and things like that. And so that's a little bit of a teaser for the second half of the show, because the Q&A that I did with Tor on this was fascinating. GhostSec Group was given the questions and the opportunity to answer, and they declined. So I've gotten no response from them. I asked them on Open Timeline on Twitter. I sent them the questions 2 days in advance on via email, and I've got no response from them. And the fact that they don't want to address the questions around the software that they've released, I think is really a problem for me. And Doc, I'm guessing it's probably a problem for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is a good story to break here, because don't they do most of their recruiting for these knuckleheads in these Western nations online on these sites?
A great majority. The majority now of the recruiting, especially that Tor says in the article in the Epoch Times, Tor says the internet is 80% of their recruitment.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
20 on average, 20 Westerners per day are recruited on the internet.
So these guys at GhostSec are integral in the war against Islam.
They are integral.
Cyber combat perspective.
They're integral because there's nobody stopping them from dropping their bombs. And we'll get into that a little bit too with the Q&A, and you know exactly what question I'm talking about on that.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So since we're doing office hours, kind of who the bell tolls, kind of crossover here. The Epoch Times article also talks about the different groups within Anonymous that are part of Op ISIS. But that doesn't make all of Op ISIS GhostSec, and it doesn't make all of Anonymous GhostSec or GhostSec Anonymous. It's a different group. It's a separate group. They're different guys. They kind of have different ideals, but if you know anything about Anonymous, they're very loosely organized, and everybody within the organization kind of has their own ideas about things, and they do things differently, and they have different causes and missions. GhostSec is a specific group with very specific mission, and you can find out what that is at ghostsec.org. So they also, like we said, have two of the most effective Tor attackers. Tor, I don't want to call them hackers, because I don't see them as hackers. I see them as warriors. So Tor warriors in the business, and they've done different operations like we talked about before. Tor Reaper was actually not with GhostSec until Charlie Hebdo. He worked with some of the operations that they did. This is again from the Epoch Times article. He worked with some of the operations that GOSEC was involved with, but until Charlie Hebdo, he did not get involved with GOSEC, but after that he did. And this was, Tor coming back was actually, from what I've seen online and from what Xavier has said, was part of the reason some of the other original members came back. That Xav actually called him the glue that holds the group together. My communication with him is that he's a really great guy. He was super about answering the questions, explaining things to me, grounding me in what I believed and what I didn't believe, and really giving me the truth without any hyperbole or, blaming. And the whole GOSEC versus GOSEC group didn't even come up because that wasn't the questions that I was asking him. Asking him specifically about this software, and he answered the questions specifically about the software. But I do want to read a quote from a cyber expert.
Can I ask you a question first? This guy that's known as the Tor Reaper, prior to him getting involved in Op ISIS and GOSEC, wasn't he online trying to expose child pornography websites, these heinous pedophiles? Okay.
That was one of the other operations that GOSEC also participated in, and that was his main, and he still does that. According to this Epoch Times article, he still takes part in what is called Op Death Eaters, and that's the anti-child pornography, where they go into the darknet and take down the child pornography sites. And I think he says he still takes 3 to 4 sites offline a day for Op Death Eaters, on top of what he's doing for ISIS. But a cybersecurity expert called Jonathan Davies said Tor Reaper is able to take down Tor sites. This is very, very new phenomenon.
These ISIS subhumans are pedophiles too. I mean, that's part of their heinous.
Oh yeah, that is part of it. Yes, that is part of it. And Davies calls Tor a right-wing hacker, which means that you don't need to worry about him taking down your corporate government websites. Basically, he's going after bad guys. So that's what they're calling right-wing hackers. So when we come back, we are going to talk about the release of an executable software or an executable program that you can download from GOSEC Group, which was created by the government, and the questions that we had for Tor Reaper about this particular software, what the purpose of it might have been, what we might want to look out for, is a good idea to download it, and why would they create a reporting tool for, a hacker group in a Windows program, which is crazy, because I don't know hackers that use Windows, and if they do, they're going to get made fun of. But he straightened me out about that a little bit too. So he was great about grounding me, and the answers are wonderful, and we've got plenty to talk about. We're going to cut to a break, and we will be right back.
K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberal conservatism.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared. Not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Has to do with
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com. The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get sad again.
I wish it was Saturday night, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be dancing.
Well, I'm this weekend. I don't want to
Plug it
on your show, but I'm dancing this weekend in the Nutcracker. I play one of the adult party guests, and I get to dance with the prima ballerina herself on 2 dances, and then 1 dance I get to dance with the little 9-year-old girl that plays my daughter in the Nutcracker. It's been such a fun time.
I love the Nutcracker. It's great. Yeah. Okay,
I'm wondering if guys like Slick, would take his lovely wife Tina to that, or maybe they're too rough on the edges.
Slick does whatever Tina wants.
Oh, I like that.
FYI, and
she's in charge. I like that.
And he will confirm that in the chat room for me, I'm sure, now.
I'm in the romper room, yes.
Yes, exactly. So let's get into the questions that we asked Tor. And again, thank you, Tor, for these questions, because this is a big concern for me, and got some great information from you, so really appreciate it. So, number 1, GhostSec Group and the federal government, through their contractor, released this executable that you can download to quote-unquote help find ISIS. The question that I asked is, and it is released in Windows. Hackers don't use Windows. What do you think they were thinking releasing a Windows program? And he says, My presumption. He said, I think your presumption is a little hasty. Perhaps no technical anon is stupid enough to blindly install anything that it's worth taking a look at 2 things. 1, most of the hunters that work finding ISIS accounts for people like ControlSec, which is part of a GhostSec group, are not technically anons. Many are kids, housewives that are looking to help. So, of course, a Windows program would be more suitable to them. I added that. I would guess they would install it if the advice was coming from a trusted source. Number 2, many younger technical guys who want to be part of GhostSec, OpISIS, etc., look up to people like the leader of GhostSec Group. His handle is DigiShadow, or Digita Shadow. They call him Digi, who has been around for years and has many followers. Even though they know better, they might do whatever he says in an attempt to impress him. Now, I'm reading this word for word because Tor has had a problem with doing interviews with media and them taking them out of context or not using his complete answers. We are not going to do that to him tonight because he was the one who was nice enough to answer our questions. Right, exactly. The second question that I asked him was, my concern is this is intended to track ordinary citizens that support OpISIS, which is basically what he told us in the first answer, activities, but may not follow your story closely enough to be suspicious. Do you think it's possible? And his answer to that, yes. I believe that this is designed to target ordinary people that are supporting OpISIS. It's my contention that the feds have asked for their help to identify anons in exchange for funding. If this is the case, and he's not alleging that it's the case, he's saying he's suspicious that it's the case. If this is the case, then they can just pick some easy targets, not real technically savvy anons, and then report the data back as if they caught loads of real anons because they are awesome. Again, he's a funny guy. And this is pretty disturbing. So they're going to use ordinary citizens to track down people that aren't really dangerous people and are trying to help us fight ISIS, but might not be really technically savvy enough to know that, they can't be, if they're doing this, if they get tracked through the system by the federal government, they can't be bank hackers. It's harder than that, I know for a fact, to get into a bank. So I really don't understand what they're doing there.
I think if you look at this intuitively, the program is a sucker program. They're luring you in, the uninitiated. It is sort of a government surveillance platform, and it is pretty much designed to monitor enemies of the administration.
Right.
And that's my concern.
Well, and that's because you believe very strongly that the administration is pro-Islam.
I don't believe that. I know that.
Okay. So, this concerns me greatly. Between your belief and what he's telling me, it causes me a lot of concern, and 13 months from now can't come soon enough. The next thing that I asked him was, had they actually identified, they had talked online, I'd seen some talk online about they believe that there's a Trojan horse, which is a malware included in the program that actually reveals things, that reveals things about the people using it that people using it wouldn't know were being revealed. I asked him if they had confirmed that. He said it's just a suspicion. However, in our world, you write code you want others to use. You share the code in GitHub or a similar program, which is just raw code, before compiling it. And it's compiled when you see an exe program, when you download a program to your computer, that's a compiled program. The code is inside the program. So instead of what these guys, Anons, usually do is they share the code so that people can do what they want to with it, check it out, and compile it themselves before uploading it. Tor says the only reason for compiling it yourself is to hide something. Add to this the fact that the app is pretty much useless, and it's a very strong suspicion. So the app doesn't really do anything that their websites don't do. So GhostSec Group and GhostSec both have websites where you can report suspicious sites and Twitter accounts. So why the program? Why do people need a desktop app to report Twitter URLs? Is what Tor says. It's the same. Exactly. It's the same process as on the website. It offers no additional features, benefits from what I can see. Therefore, what is the point? And I think that's a really good question from him. Right? Well,
it is. In the romper room, your buddy Slick there is basically confirming what we just said earlier, that it's nothing but a way for Mr. Obama and his administration to track his enemies list.
Well, I'm not surprised at all that Slick is saying that.
Of course, Slickery Trigger is on that enemies list. I'm not sure Dr. A is, but, well, maybe I am. I don't know.
Slick's at the top of the list. So, yeah, exactly. But I'm sure I probably am, too. So, when the program was released...
Any true American patriot is the top of that list.
Right.
Because they are a threat to what this guy wants to do to the nation, has been trying to do to the nation. Any true conservative American patriot is an enemy to Mr. Obama.
Now you're getting into the political part of it, and one of his and one of Tor's answers, as you know, was very much that this is not political to them at all. Okay, right. So we don't want to get into the politics of it, and that's out of respect for the and not so much because this show is not about politics, because we know it is. So
handling me.
And of course I'm handling you. That's what I do, Doc.
Okay.
So the next question that I asked him was about the discussion on Twitter that the contractor that works with GhostSec Group was offering an API for people who wanted to code their own solution. My question was, because I'm just technical enough to be dangerous, was, isn't the same tracking possible through an API that's possible through this program? And he basically says yes. Whenever somebody connects to a web server, the person hosting that server is able to track the IP of the person connecting. This is the same whether it's an API or a website visit. The reason why offering an API is quite clever is because it allows GhostSec Group to track not only people at their desktops, but also track the servers used to host other Anon websites. So the API, people, take note, could even be more dangerous than the program itself from what I'm reading here. And then he gives the example of one user hosts a website that, or one supporter of Op ISIS hosts a website that allows people to submit ISIS URLs and then forwards them. With GSG offering an API, it means that anytime someone goes to that user's server and makes a request to them, if he's not cautious, the route request can be tracked. And then he adds genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really a genius way to track someone without letting them know that you're tracking them or giving them an idea that you're not tracking them. And then I asked them, if the next question was, the Brookings Institute and the government, as well as Kronos the Contractor and GoSec Group, are all saying that it is much better to leave these ISIS sites online so that they can track them and gather intelligence rather than taking them offline. Because I told you.
Yeah.
And I actually told Tor as well, and I've said it on my Twitter timeline. I think it's crap. And, asked him to comment, and he gave a really great comment. The government's strategy of leaving sites and accounts up is so that they can monitor them is probably the reason ISIS is so successful at recruiting. They might find in 2 months 10 to 20 interesting leads. 2 to 5 turn out to be worth following up on, and maybe leads to 1 arrest, and that's in a couple of months. In the meantime, thousands of impressionable kids have seen the material that they left up and have potentially been radicalized by it. We're not talking about a few tweets here. The Twitter noise just drives supporters to the forum sites that are currently protected by Cloudflare. This is a whole nother issue. I'm just going to encourage everybody to look into Cloudflare and find out about what Cloudflare does to protect ISIS sites. And that is an Amazon tool. And being left up, protected by Cloudflare and being left up by the government. These forums contain bomb-making instructions, tips for travel routes to Syria, and maybe some local meetup details once in a while. Only the last point is something the police can follow up on. The rest is just left there. And it's not the police's fault. They are targeted on arrests, not good deeds done. If they take the sites down, they stop the radicalization of thousands, but arrest nobody. It does not help to meet their targets at all. So we have a system. Basically what he's saying is we have a system that of recognition and reward that leaving the sites up might benefit. But as far as benefiting the people and benefiting our safety, no.
Right. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, exactly. So number 6 was, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but does the NSA, the sunsetting of the NSA metadata program have anything to do with this? And I think he probably laughed when he read that, but he said no, he doesn't think the NSA cares about Ghost Security Group or what they claim they do, that the NSA already has a far superior intel gathering capabilities on Twitter and has no need for GoSec or GoSec Group data. The FBI, however, who are trying to find and are targeted on finding local ISIS recruiters, however, do have an interest in this. So he blew my conspiracy theory out of the water, but hey, that's okay. That's why I asked him. I really secretly wanted him to tell me that wasn't true.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was good to hear. It's not a replacement for the metadata program. So, and then I asked him, was there anything else that he'd really like the public, the general public, our listeners, to know about GoSec and their program? And he said, just that this is, and this is the politics part, just that this is such a politically charged issue right now, and we are not in any way interested in the politics of it. People like Michael Smith, who's the spokesperson for Kronos, who's the contractor that handles GoSec Group, have come along like birds of prey, which is what you said, Doc, trying to capitalize on the ISIS issue. They are making it political in order to earn money. GhostSec Original is here for one reason. We believe that the removal of ISIS propaganda from the internet, and those of us that can will try to do everything we can to remove it. We believe that removing the content from the net is the best way to stymie their recruitment drive. I agree. And to save the lives of impressionable young Muslims all around the world. Our plan is better for those worried about ISIS and for those who might be convinced to join it, and we will keep the fight going as long as our keyboards function. And I just got to tell you, Tor, I hope your keyboard functions forever. So that's the story of GhostSec and the story of the executable that GhostSec Group released.
Well, he is basically focused on the technical issue of bringing down ISIS and fighting that cyber combat against those heinous individuals. But he's wrong when he talks about it not being political. Everything is political when the government makes it political. So this warfare has to be fought not only on his basis of having the warfare be done technically, which is what he's doing, but also culturally in our society and politically with people that are, engaged in politics like I am.
Right.
Because,
and I will say that they are having an impact on the cultural part of it because they're bringing down the propaganda, and that helps the culture. But he did say he realizes that it's a very politically charged issue, but the GhostSec is not interested in the politics of it.
Well, that's why you have a team that fights the combat and warfare. We are at war against Islam,
right?
So he wants to fight the technical issues. That's his expertise. A guy like Slickery Trigger and his wife Tina, they're the weapons experts.
Right.
I can be the political guy, although I am a warrior myself. But it's got to be a several-pronged fight to take these guys down, and ultimately it does involve politics and the culture, and you have to properly educate the people in your culture and not let them be mind raped.
Exactly. So are you telling me that it takes a village to fight ISIS?
It takes a country like the United States of America to fight ISIS.
It does, and it takes us all together, and we appreciate what these guys are doing, and even, it doesn't, I don't see them any, I call them the Justice League, because I think that's, cute, and I have superhero nicknames for them. Of course, none of them know, but I think the important thing is that, and this is the one analogy that I want to draw. So if they are, if you look at them suspiciously, stop and think about this for a moment. The work that Clara Barton did during the Civil War was viewed as threatening, and she was suspect to the government. And she was suspect for a very long time. And we're talking about Clara Barton. So I see these guys as modern-day Clara Bartons, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really do. And I think they're great. And I feel a little bit safer because they're out there. So I wanted to tell this story. Don't download the executable, whatever you do.
I think we've convinced people that would be the wrong thing to do.
It would be the wrong thing to do to download that executable, but you can go to ghostsec.org, that's ghostsec.org, and report whatever you want to report anonymously, and you don't have to worry about these guys. They are good guys. So
now what we have to do is motivate JD and Stacy to get back in the fight. You agree with that statement, or are you going to?
No, JD and Stacy are in the fight. What are you talking about?
Oh, all right.
They might be in the chat room. They could be listening.
They're in the romper room, but I listened to their last show. It was, it was a great show, but they kind of delved away from the fight.
Nah, they're in the fight. They're always in the fight. You can always count on them being in the fight.
Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was great to have you with me. 2 shows a week with you is just not enough, Doc.
I mentioned to you that when we started Office Hours with Dr. A, we could do 5 shows, 2 hours a day, and you said that might be a little bit ambitious, but so you talked me out of it.
That might be enough of you for a week, actually.
Oh my goodness, you got enough of me already. There you go. That's
good. That could actually be enough. So, You can catch Dr. Arrington and I on K98. Now we're at noon, right after JD and Stacy's Bloody Marys in Broad Street. So we get as close to JD and Stacy as we can.
We'll pick up some
every
of
time
the
we're on
other people.
the air. Yeah, exactly. And you can catch me here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. You can also catch office hours on WNJC out of Philly, 1360 AM at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. We're really excited about that little venture with the Conservative Commando Radio Network, and really appreciate Rick Trader for that as well. So we got to get out of here, Doc, so say good night.
Good night, everybody. Great show. Great show.
God bless America, and thank you, ghosts.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say. It's late September and I really should be back at school.
Before you smoke, think about this.
When you smoke, it affects more than just your health. I love to dance. That's something that I handed down to my family. I was pretty good at it too, before my doctor told me that secondhand smoke at work caused me to have asthma attacks, infections, and lung damage. And I never smoked. I can't work there anymore.
Think about the ones around you. This has been a public service announcement from K98 Talk. K98 Talk is continuing to expand its lineup. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.